So today we have something American, which might or might not be related to the latest news, let us say. It's been written some while ago, as you can see if you look at the dates. So it's The Last Reservation by Walter Learned. Sullen and dull in the September day, on the bank of the river, they waited the boat that should bear them away from their poor homes forever. It's supposed to rhyme, I guess, but it doesn't really. For progress strides on, and the order had gone to these wars of the nation. Give us land and more room, was the cry, and move on to the next reservation. If her babe, she looked back at her home neath the trees from which they were driven, where the last campfire smoke borne out on the breeze rose slowly toward heaven. Behind her, fair fields and the forest and glade, the home of her nation. Around her the gleam of the bayonet and blade of civilization. Clasping close to her bosom the small dusky form with tender caressing, she bent down on the cheek of her babe, soft and warm, a mother's kiss pressing. As splash on the river, the current moves on, close guarded and narrow, noting as little as the two that are gone as the fall of a sparrow. Only an Indian, wretched, obscure, to refinement and stranger, and a babe that was born in a wigwam as poor and rude as a manger, moved on to make room for the growth in the west of a brave Christian nation, moved on, thank God, forever at rest in the last reservation. So, how do you react to it?
Well, this looks like a thing from American history.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain words that more or less support this attitude. The word reservation, for example, which in the context that it is used here refers to American history, and maybe the word nation that Americans like to use to describe their own country and the people. So superficially it looks like a passage about history of, well, reservation is connected in our opinion with the Native Americans, with American Indians, and I believe that there is a word Indian somewhere in the text. I'm looking at it. I can't find it, but I think
only an Indian.
I've seen it somewhere.
Only an Indian, and we have wigwam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So these are the words that more or less mark the context.
Mm-hmm. So how do you feel? What's a personal reaction to it?
It is supposed to be I think, something, something solemn, something really melancholic, although there are some bright spots, a mother's kiss, for example, or the image of a river, but there are also words that fall on the dark side, wretched, obscure, strangers, even these words that can sometimes have negative underpinnings, such as the word narrow, gone, and maybe even the word pressing, which we encounter in the passage about mother's kiss, or lots of other things. Again, smoke, slowly. So these isn't very full of optimistic energy, as far as I can see.
So what is the story?
Well, as far as I understand, it's the story of a family, an Indian family that is removed from where they are, and instead has to find a place in a new reservation, and that's going to be their last reservation, because it seems that they are, for many of them, they are not going to live long after this earth is over.
Yeah. Okay. So today we have a lot of noise, all the black people, the white people. We don't hear that much about the real Americans, who are the Indian people. Because apparently there's no benefit in promoting the Indians. There's a lot of benefit in promoting the hatred and disharmony between the black people, the white people, because you have lots and lots of black people, lots and lots of white people. And if you make them forget that they're people, and you make them only see that they're black or white, then you can have a big collision, you can make lots of money off it, and you can control people easily. But as for the real Americans, the Indians, there's not many left of them, so it wouldn't be profitable to talk about them and make a big fuss about them. But the problem remains, obviously, even since those times. Again, it just shows you how people are shepherded, are made look one way and not the other way. So while everybody looks one way, you just not see what is around you, apparently. So coming back to this poem, well, obviously it's written in a kind of rhetorical way, in a way that lots of propaganda works. When you see females and babies shown to you, then you know it's something to stop you thinking and to make you emotional. Yeah? Because they don't describe men here, they don't describe any possible fightings or not fightings. They show you an innocent victim, a woman and her little baby, to make you sentimental, and then they're killed in the process, and nobody cares.
Obviously.
And nobody cares.
And then they are heading for the last reservation, which is afterlife or something.
Yeah.
Or just, if you don't believe in afterlife, if some of the leaders don't believe in afterlife, to their final grave, which is their final destination, their final reservation.
So But still, we need to look at it. Same as we had a look at Australia, we can look at the Indians too, because the man is obviously worried about the situation because he uses such methods to show it. They're quite obvious on one hand, on another hand they're bound to work because that's how a human mind works. Show them an innocent baby being killed and then, oh, there's no thinking at all, you just fall for it, like, oh, poor things. So let's have a look at it. Salin and Dal, in the September day, on the bank of the river, they waited the boat that should bear them away from their poor homes forever. What about this beginning?
Well, if you begin with September, you might not achieve the desired result because September can be bright and sunny.
Mm-hmm.
So the reverse is true for the passage you read. It begins with something that immediately gives us a context. Sullen and dull.
Mm-hmm.
So the September day changes completely. It's going to be autumn. Autumn is going to be followed by winter, and as we discussed several times already, winter is obviously a symbol of a big sleep, symbol of death, something. Sullen and dull.
Who is sullen and dull? Is it September who is sullen and dull, or is it they?
It is they. It is they who are waiting for the boat. They are sullen and dull, and somehow when you begin with it, the rest becomes grey, dull, just as well.
Yeah, because by naming it, you bring it into the picture. You set the air, and you have sullen and dull, then you don't have they are sullen and dull. You have the September day. So by putting the words together, you make them affect each other. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Then again, we have the river here through the poem. And obviously the river is also important. They're not going by land, they're not moving, they're connected to a river, which is on one hand is like traditional. You think about canoes, boats. My paddle skin and bright, flashing with silver. Yeah. On the other hand, you think of river as time and change and death, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, because we know something from Greek mythology with its river in the land of the dead. We know something, and we often say a flow of events. And of course, our lives are, in a certain sense, these flows of events, and this is probably also a the river in the poem is probably a representation of that sort of stream of life, the flow of life that is about to end, and that's the word forever, which is the last word in the first stanza.
Yeah, and now they're on the bank and they're waiting, so they have no home, they're on the border of some kinds. They're about to leave the old place, and it's capturing the moment of uncertainty. The beautiful moment between here and there. So now they're neither here nor there. They're on the bank and they're waiting. The boat that should bear them away from their poor homes forever. And you may think, oh well, maybe it's good. Maybe they're taken to a better place. Because here they have poor homes. So maybe they're going to some better place. Mm-hmm.
And yet the word forever probably says something, says is going to be even worse. They do live in poor homes, but they are homes. And forever means something really abstract, something you can't really touch, something you can only imagine, unpredictable future, and somehow forever in the context here means something just as dull as and solemn.
Well, that's because we know the continuation, just because we know what it's going to be. Because if it turned the other way and it said like, now they're going to live happily some other place, you'd say, forever is good. But we have already the dullness, the sullenness. We have taken them away from home. We do have it.
Yes.
And we have this meekness.
Yeah, they are waiting.
They're not trying to fight, they're not trying to run, they have already accepted their fate.
Yes.
Okay.
And of course, waiting means just something that is, well, you wait for something that is going to happen to you. In that sense, you are meek. But also, waiting means you are not quite sure what's coming up because it hasn't happened yet, and you are still waiting for it. And it might make you much more anxious. So, on the one hand, they are already they are ready for what's in store for them. On the other hand, this waiting is a long process, or seemingly long process, that makes them even more anxious, even more unhappy.
Maybe. Because we don't see it in here, we see them sullen and dull and waiting. So maybe they don't notice. Okay, for progress strides on, and the order had gone to these wars of the nation. Give us land and more room, was the cry, and move on to the next reservation.
Yeah.
So we already have the contrast. Poor people in their poor homes, and progress, which is quite ruthless in here. It strides on without looking. It can step on you, it can crush you. We have orders.
Yeah.
They're meek, and the other side is strong, they have orders.
Yeah, that's certainly true. And of course, it's only natural for progress to stride, because that's what progress does.
If you believe in progress.
If it is progress, of course, but we are often accustomed to think of any move forward as progress, because that's the literal meaning of the word progress. You move forward, you reach.
Move forward to
somewhere.
what? And from where?
Yes, but that's a big question.
So progress is another very big question. Does it exist? Does it exist at all? Because I'm not sure it exists. It's very linear thinking. Because if you believe in progress, then you're never happy. Progress means that every new day must be better than yesterday. Then today is never as good as tomorrow, on one hand. On another hand, it makes you feel like you're moving somewhere, while who says so? To say there's progress, there has to be some kind of aim. There isn't. If it's to be happy humanity, then it's obviously there's no progress in that direction. If the aim is to make more and more efficient things to kill other people, then maybe that's progress. But again, it has to stop somewhere. So in some sense there is no progress. In the Christian sense there is no progress. It's already finished, it's already happened. In a non-Christian way, in like more naturalistic way, there's no progress either, because it's cyclic in nature, and there's no progress either. But the nation which moves these people believes in progress. So we have on one hand these people who are connected with the river, with poor homes, being meek. On one hand, on the other hand, we have people who do it, who are strong and sharp, who believe in progress and orders. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Give us land and more room, and move on to the next reservation.
Yes. And these are the wards of the nations who are saying that. So it's again someone in power, someone who is definitely not meek and who strives to see even more progress as they understand it. They say, give us land,
Mm-hmm.
someone else's land, as we get to understand. Give us more room. Again, this is something that was later used by some folks, such as people who devised Nazi Germany ideology. The word Raum was used to describe the necessary space for the German nation to develop. Here, basically, it's the same. So there's some space that they need. Give us land, give us more room, and move on. Again, that's what the progress does, stamping on other people's feet to the next reservation.
Mm-hmm.
And they never say, okay, we need something, let's move these Indians to the next reservation. So move on hasn't got an object.
Mm-hmm.
They are even denied the status of an object. They are just the word and the preposition. Move on.
Yeah, so they're not considered to be people, they're considered just to be a kind of nuisance, occupying the land which they feel belongs to them. They have no right to it, but they just feel like it, and nobody's going to contradict them. Then again, room makes you think of civilization, because that's where you have rooms in houses. Give us land. Land is something alive, that's the soil, plants, animals, the land, the spirit of the land. And room, just plain space. They want all of it. And move on to the next reservation, which, again, if they say move to the next reservation, means they have lots of reservations, so they keep moving.
Yeah, and of course we might imagine that in the process some lives are lost, again because very often this it's also true for people in normal circumstances. Sometimes moving houses becomes really difficult. For example, for older people who are accustomed to where they are. And here, of course, some older people, some women, some children are again present, and this is obvious that it's not just a pleasant journey for all of them. It might be difficult just as a journey. And again, we might ask ourselves, is everyone going to survive this move?
Does anyone care of the people who are moving them? Do they care? Maybe not really.
Not really, because they are just moving on. You want to free up some room because you don't have enough space where you work, and you move maybe your desk or you move something, and that's basically what's happening to these people in the story we are reading now. They are just moved as
furniture.
Yeah.
Of course, now we have the word reservation, because the first stanza shows you their point of view, and the second stanza shows you the civilization's point of view. For them, it's a home. For civilization, it's just a reservation, like a zoo. With her babe.
No, I wasn't saying anything.
Okay. With her babe, she looked back at her home neath the trees from which they were driven, where the last campfire smoke burned out on the breeze, rose slowly toward heaven. So now we start the no brain, just emotions. Babies and females, quite young, boring, but still.
Yeah, and again, it's written by Walter Lurt. So from just judging from his name, he is or he was a man and not a woman. And I'm sure that
it's a tool.
often,
it's a kind of a tool when you use babies and females in order to influence people.
And very often, at least that was my experience, very often women are not really impressed when other women are mentioned or when babies are used to produce some sentimental feelings in men. And in several situations I witnessed, it was basically women often tend to understand the sort of propaganda value of these things, while men, I'm not sure, men are often supposed to be very rational and even materialistic, which is probably just not true.
No, it's not true.
But
just statistically.
Yeah, so for me as a man reading these 4 lines, well, yes, the effect is reached, and I'm saddened by what I'm seeing. The baby, the lady that looks back at her home, the word driven, again, something that's...
like cattle.
And all that sort of campfire smoke, all that sort of thing that creates tension, at least creates some...
Yeah, it's supposed to.
Sort of emotional tension.
So we have a look at these people, then we look at the other side. Now we are back to these people, and we have a closer look at them. Not they, but more specifically a baby and a female. And the home, again we have the word home. Yeah, the poor homes forever now. Her home, beneath the trees. And now we have, again, connection with nature. So it's not just a home, it's a home beneath the trees. It's connected with trees, which again is nice.
Yeah, so very concrete, unlike progress in the previous stanza, which looks very abstract.
Well, it doesn't say which trees. We don't really see the lady. Maybe she's a fat drunkard who never keeps herself tidy. We don't know. But we don't think so, because it's supposed to be nice and romantic. So we imagine her nice and beautiful, I guess. Because she's an innocent victim, we can't imagine that she's fat and ugly and horrible.
And again, in Christian culture, and there's reference there's reference to Christianity somewhere,
in the end,
somewhere else in the poem. Yeah, of course, an image of a lady and a baby creates an obvious parallel.
Yeah. And especially a lady and a baby who have to flee from the home.
Yes.
Running away from bad soldiers who would kill them. That's quite an obvious reference, I agree. From which they were driven. Again, like cattle. Where the last campfire snow borne out on the breeze rose slowly toward heaven. So that side is all natural. It's alive. It has trees. It has fire. It has breeze. It has water, river. Has all these elements. So we have last campfire smoke. So again, why would we need to put it in the poem?
Maybe because it's not just campfire smoke. Maybe she looks back at her home. She sees, or we see smoke as she's looking at what used to be her home, and at least my first association was that their houses were destroyed, burned down, and they were to be replaced by something else.
No, it's campfire. It's campfire.
Yes, and then you say it's campfire, so it's a bit different.
So maybe this means that they had to move in a kind of a hurry, so they didn't even put out the fire properly. It's still smoking. Maybe that, like the last spirit of the home just dying out, and then it will die out, and there will be no one to renew it. Maybe. Then again we have smoke rising to heaven, and the word heaven connected to the place, the people, like they're making an offering, or like it's a prayers going to the heaven. Again, to make you feel like they have their right. They have the right to be there. It's their natural right. It's their home, and it's let's say it's approved by heaven. And could be smoke, could be their thoughts and prayers raising to slowly toward heaven. Again, we have this slow, we slow down the flow of time. Maybe we make it heavy, because if the smoke is rising slowly, then it's kind of heavy, I guess. And which again makes it more sad. There's it makes it more solemn. And the fact that they're not protesting, they're not fighting back, they're not doing anything to stop it, silent like the smoke, maybe. And in that sense, their prayers or thoughts reach the heaven. Will they be answered? Will they be heard? We don't know. But there's nowhere else where they can turn to. There's nowhere else where they can seek any help. They can't help themselves. Apparently, they can't ask for help among people because other people just don't think they're human. They can only ask for help from above in some way. Maybe. Anything else?
That's very likely. No, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. Behind her fair fields and the forest and glade, the home her nation, around her the gleam of the bayonet and blade of civilization. So we look around, we have down beneath the trees, we have up, heaven and smoke. Now we look around, we look behind her. Again, behind her, she is leaving it all behind. Fair fields and forest and glade. So the structure is really the same. We connect them with nature, a nice nature. We say it's a home, and we contrast it again with a lifeless, cruel, ruthless civilization. So she leaves fair fields behind, and now she's surrounded by the metal of civilization. So we have bayonet and blade of civilization. So civilization is aggressive. It's attacking its soldiers. Then of course it's a bit funny because we have bay in bayonet and we have like a blade of grass. But here it's just a blade.
And again, it seems that all the good things, all the fair things, are in the past, are behind her.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks forward, and what she sees is something different. She sees these arms all around her, armed people all around her, and civilization, meaning lots and lots of arms. So that's how progress looks to her. So if you look backwards, it's usually called a regress, but it's in the past that she leaves all what's dear to her, and what is obviously dear to many of us: her home, her hopes, her natural environment. In the future, there's probably nothing of that sort, and again, we are not really sure that both the lady and the baby are going to live enough to see what the future brings.
Mm-hmm. So now they come closer. Before we had kind of separate stanzas for these two realities, now they come together. The fair fields and the gleam of metallic gleam of civilization. Now they come close. They sit in one stanza. And of course we have words like a home of her nation, which is supposed to sound really cool. And civilization, so and what is civilization again? What is nation? What is civilization? What is progress? Is there progress? Because if you lost in your way and you're walking in some kind of a wrong direction, then the progress would be to turn back and to walk back to where you took a wrong turn. But insisting on keeping walking in the same direction when you know it's not the right one, is that progress or is it just idiocy? Because how do we progress? What do we consider to be progress in our civilization? Making more and more brainy gadgets to replace humans, is that progress, really?
And again, are these to replace humans, or are sometimes humans being replaced by isn't it true very often that these gadgets take the role of people and people just become another adjunct to the gadget?
Yeah, that is what happens, and that's what people are, again, taught to believe, that humans are just fleshy machines, that humans are all the same, that there's no difference between you and any next Johnny, that you're all like little gadgets, that you can be fixed like a machine, that you can be broken like a machine, that you can be spared or replaced like a machine, which is not true, just not true. Or they will tell you that you're a fleshy, walking, just a piece of meat with some neuron connections in your brain which make you think that you are you, again, which is rubbish. It's a very sad point of view and completely incomplete. Because anyone who's had any kind of a holistic view, anyone would know that it's not true. It's like saying that, I don't know, a gadget, if you want to talk about gadgets, a gadget is just a sum of its wires, which it's not. Like saying that a car is just a bunch of metal and wires. But then they forget that a car will not go anywhere unless there's a driver in it. Okay. So here, civilization, same as today. What is civilization? Making more and more advanced weaponry and more and more technical thingies, make them more and more clever, which on one hand is great, why not? On the other hand, it makes people forget that they're human and not machines. It's like one way of developing would be to make, let's say, exoskeletons and frameworks to support people and make them stronger, while the other way would be to develop your natural abilities, like that man, what's his name, Wim Hof, who can sit in extreme cold and be quite comfortable, because he's trained himself and he can train anyone who cares, because it's really simple. So that's two ways of developing yourself, either artificially, externally, and that will never do, because you're human. Or you could use your own abilities and to practice, to develop your own abilities, like in Dune, the book, the film, the Dune, where they make quite a point of it. Okay, so now we have nation and civilization coming together. Civilization is aggressive. Then again, we can always look at it as our own story, because we all have these sides inside us. We have our civilization side, which likes machines, which is, let's say, rudely speaking, the left side brain. And we have the natural magic, our own natural magic, which is, again, roughly speaking, the right side brain. And you may say it's like male-female energy, if you want to go into it. So civilization is like male and nature is like female. Maybe. And again, we decide which side to promote. We decide which side to develop. Do we want to send our natural magic away? The seed of life, the baby. Do we want to send it away just to have more room for technical experiments? Because that's what we do to ourselves. It's not just Indians somewhere in America or some 100 years ago. No, it's today. It's inside you, inside me. Okay, so behind her fair fields and the forest and glade, the home of her nation, around her the gleam of the bayonet and blade of civilization. Again, we always decide who we want to be. Do we want to be human, or do we want to be little machines, pieces of paper, or something, furniture? We make the decision, and we drive that energy, or not drive that energy away. That's what we do. Clasping close to her bosom the small dusky form with tender caressing, she bent down on the cheek of her babe, soft and warm, a mother's kiss pressing.
Well, this is obviously a very tender, nice picture, which also happens to be a very tragic picture, because we don't know whether both of them are going to survive this new experience.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's, well, I can't say it's, well, maybe it is a focal point of the entire poem. So we reached the culmination, we reached the highest point, and then we're going downwards, moving on to where the progress leads us to. Something like that.
Yeah, so from the point of view of the poem, we are coming closer and closer. First we look at them from a side, just they waited. Then we look more closer, we see the woman and the baby. Now we come even closer, we are clasping close to her bosom. Really, really close. We are not even looking at her from a side. We are touching her, we are hugging her, we are clutching to her. A small dusky form. So it's not really a baby, it's something unformed, it's small and dusky, but surrounded with love, with tenderness. Again, if we look at it from like inward point of view, it doesn't have to be a real baby. It's some kind of seed or beginning, as a living spark. Because life comes out of life. Life doesn't come out of machines. You have to be alive to bring something alive. I'm not just talking about females having babies, obviously. You have to be alive to bring something some thing which is alive. You can't write a poem if you're not alive, it will be dead. You can't make a picture, paint a picture if you're not alive. It will be just flat. So the small dusky form with tender caressing, so that's some kind of essence which has to grow yet, which needs caressing. She bent down on the cheek of her babe, soft and warm, and mother's kiss pressing. On one hand again, just a soppy bit. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Baby's kisses, soft and warm and unprotected completely. Oh, that kind of thing. Oh, then again we are close, really close. Now we become the baby in that bit, because we can feel the kiss on the cheek, and it's on the cheek of the baby. So we are the baby. We are put into the position of a soft and warm and helpless baby. And of course, a mother's kiss is something divine in that sense.
And of course, it is divine, especially for those who can experience it, or probably even more so for those who can no longer experience it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe in that sense we are the baby who is caught in between, like, our real natural power, our real natural magic, and ruthless civilization which demands to be in charge, and this, let's say, mother goddess or whatever is trying to save us, because civilization has no love. Civilization is a steam machine, yeah, on its hard rails, just goes on and doesn't care. While the other side, the natural magic, it can be wild, it can be unpleasant, it can be strict, but it can be loving too. You can't just have one sort of feelings, obviously. So if it can love, it can hate as well, but it doesn't matter, because civilization can't love, it can't hate, it just works. So mother's kiss pressing, so we can feel it. And bent down, again submissive, not fighting, not protesting, just a what? Admitting of a failure, can it be? Or is it something else? Maybe you don't fight it because there's no point in doing it, because if you're fighting, you're just the same. So she's using some more interesting protection, like in Harry Potter. Then it protects you better than any fighting. Love protects you more than any kind of weaponry, maybe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm looking now at the next stanza. What's happening in the next stanza?
Yeah, a splash in the river, the column moves on, close guarded and narrow, noting as little as the two that have gone as the fall of a sparrow. Yeah, so what is happening here?
A splash in the river.
Mm-hmm.
Why? And then the column moves on without giving this splash any notice.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems that the two, the baby and the baby's mother, are gone. they are little, they are unimportant, they are compared to the fall of a sparrow. Just so they, again, the comparison is probably not very human comparison because it's a sparrow.
Well,
again,
from the Indian point of view, again, from the natural point of view, it's a nice comparison because a sparrow is alive. A sparrow is a bird of spirit. Sparrows are said to be guiding souls to the other side, as many birds do, but specifically sparrows.
And of course, very often we compare ourselves to birds. We might also compare, we compare ourselves to birds in the Christian tradition, for example, where Søren Kierkegaard, this Danish philosopher, used the metaphor about a lily and a bird as representations of what it means to be a Christian. And of course, even in our normal unchristian lives, the word bird is used, for example, as a symbol of freedom. Free as a bird.
Yeah. Then again, we have lots of different birds. Okay, yeah. So sparrows are important here, and the river. We had the river in the beginning, and maybe it was just a normal river in the beginning, but now we know it's not. Now we know it's a river which takes people in. It really is the death river or time river, or just the other side river. A splash in the river. The column was on, close guarded and narrow. So again, not people, just a column. We don't see any individual people. And the word move on, repeated. Move on to next reservation, move on. Close guarded and narrow. So again, close, narrow. Narrow in the mind, narrow in the position. Narrow because there are a few of them. There aren't many people left by the time. And narrow maybe in their mind, so they don't protest, they don't do anything. Close guarded, again, bayonet, blade, guarded, aggression. And noting as little as two that are gone as the fall of a sparrow. So they're as good as dead, they don't see anything, they're completely subdued. And the other sparrow, a really strange bird if you think about it. On one hand it's small, it's brownish, you may not notice it, they come in great numbers again. And unless you watch them, you wouldn't tell one sparrow from another. At the same time, like we said, it's a bird of spirit. It's a bird which takes your soul to the other side, which holds the portal, like many birds do. And then, of course, there's an arrow in a word, narrow and sparrow. So on one hand, they are dead, apparently. On another hand, they're not really dead, they're moving to the spirit side. From the human side to the spirit side, and once they're on the spirit side, they're free. So on one hand they're dead, on another hand they're free. Interestingly. Only an Indian wretched, obscure, terrifying, and a stranger, and a babe that was born in a wigwam as poor and rude as a manger. So that's apparently more allusions to Christianity. A baby which is born in a really poor place.
Place fit for cattle.
Yeah, manger. And of course, only an Indian. Like, how can you say she's only an Indian? Nobody is only this or that. Yeah, so she's human. Indian or not Indian, she's human. Even if she's wretched and obscure and a stranger, shouldn't matter. So here, just in case if we didn't guess, in the end they speak out plainly that it's all about Indians, and you have Indian and wigwam. Although we did have the reservation before, but now to make it sure. So why do we put it in the end? Maybe because it doesn't have to be specifically Indian. It can be applied to many other different people, and including ourselves, like we said. Again, we have a kind of an image of a victim here, like poor, obscure, wretched, rude, as a manger. So they have nothing, and they're being taken even that away from them. Even that little that they have. It's like, oh, you're a big civilization. Do you not have enough? Do you have to take the last of these people? Oh, they're not people. They're just Indians. They're not people. They're just Italians. Oh, they're not people. They're just Indians. Oh, they're not people. They're just Australians. Yeah.
And of course, the baby is born in something that looks like a manger, but the baby is no longer. The baby is no more, and it creates this clash. It's born, and now it's dead again.
Yeah, so we go out of time in here, and of course, when we have a life taken away, it's bound to be kind of sentimental. A young girl, a beautiful young girl, a baby, who we feel should live on and on and on for years and years, and they just die basically by an accident, because they did nothing to deserve it. And of course we feel sour and bitter about it. So again, that's another tool to make you feel that way. But does it work? Do you feel...
Well, I think it does. It does the trick for me.
So it's supposed to make you feel that they are people and not just some funny animals, and not just some filthy, horrible things. Because it takes you by the scruff of your neck and puts you in their place, in their position, in the position of a baby, helpless. Because again, it might be just a rhetoric tool, it might be just an image, but basically the people are as helpless as babies against the big soldiers of civilization. Even today, what can they do? There are still lots of Indians, but are they happy? Do they have their home back? I don't think so. There's little they can do. So it's really funny how whenever you're trying to kind of track back all those claims on land and property, if you trace it back long enough, then how can you say it's your land to give or to own? How can you ever have or own a land? Nobody can do it. You can only fake it, and other people can only agree either by, I don't know, maybe you're bullying them into agreement, or they just get their share of it to agree, whatever. But it's still pretending. Nobody can have the land. Nobody should be able to sell it or to buy it, because it doesn't belong to anyone to begin with. It's the same as today. Some people are selling stars and planets, so you can buy a star and give it a name, but I don't know if people who live on that star are aware of it. I don't think anyone has asked them. So it's about the same thing. How can you sell something that is not yours? How can you claim to own something that is just never been anyone's, just because you're the first to say it's yours? A nonsense. How is the same with like Mars and Moon, and they say, oh, we came here first, so now the Moon belongs to me, or the Mars belongs to me. The same here. You come to somebody else's home and you say, now it's my land, and you go away. Moved on to make room for the growth in the West of a brave Christian nation. Moved on, thank God, forever at rest in the last reservation.
Yeah.
So we have the word room again.
We have the word nation again.
Mm-hmm.
And of course reservation. Last reservation.
So again, what they do is, obviously what he does is creates an image of a baby and then has it killed and then extrapolates the image to the whole nation and says, oh, you're a brave Christian nation. How can you call yourself Christian if you do that to people, on one hand? Yeah, how can you be proud of yourself when we have this connection between babies? Are you any different? That could be Jesus. You just killed him. You're so brave. You're fighting babies. Moved on. Thank God. So, what God? Who is to thank?
Maybe it's our writer
Mm-hmm.
who says, you think you're a Christian, but God is on the side of these two creatures who just died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, because we have Christian and then God, then obviously it's like a Christian God. Forever at rest in the last reservation. So the next reservation, now the last reservation, which is like heaven, like we may guess.
Yeah.
And the whole poem gives you that sense of having no home at all, because they have to move and move and move again and again and again. And we don't see them settle down. We see them having to leave their home behind in a hurry, forced. We never see them settle down. We just have the words move on, move on, move on repeated. So even this quite, in some sense, silly poem has quite a lot to tell us, and to tell us about the situation today in just a political sense, because it's, well, nothing's changed in those 100 years or so. It's just exactly the same. And it has to tell us about our own inner mapping, and how do we treat ourselves, first of all. Do we just exile all the sudden wild magic that we have in favor of more orderly so-called progress, civilization? Because we do have the word order here in the second stanza. The progress strides on, the order has gone. So these words of the nation, they represent the order. We do need order, but here we have the extreme kind of order, which becomes just tyrannic. Too much order is dead, same as too much chaos is death. We don't have the balance in here. And maybe as you read it, you're supposed to feel like, oh, somebody has to fight for them. If they don't fight for themselves, then maybe I should fight for them. Maybe that's how you're supposed to feel. Or maybe you're supposed to feel like, no, leave it to God, because if you start fighting in the way they do, then you're no different from them. You're just the same. So at least they have their dignity, because a civilization has no dignity. Civilization can come with guns and knives and bayonets and attack helpless babies. They have no dignity. But these people have their kind of, is it dignity or is it just meekness?
Well, isn't meekness sort of a Christian dignity?
Mm-hmm.
So you are supposed to be meek. You're supposed to maybe not respond by doing evil to someone who has done evil to you, for some sort of wrongdoer. Isn't that the case?
I don't know, you tell me. Because specifically here it looks like he's trying to make the image of a completely helpless victim who can do nothing and wills to do nothing against the intruder. And maybe that's how our natural magic works in us. Maybe it cannot be forced, because really you tell it to go and it obeys because it's a part of you. It won't fight, it will do as it's told because it is a part of you, and you make the decision to move it away. So you can have a bit more logic and a bit more, what was it the last time? Logic and something.
Yeah.
And reason. So in some way it's the same as the previous one, where you decide, desperate desire to believe our bold concoction of half-baked, scarcely credible ramblings, more than yourselves. Here is the same, logic and reason. You think they're enough, and You dispense with sense itself, the great know thyself no matter what. You decide that you don't need it, that it's weak, that it's useless, like this female with the baby, but really she's the goddess, and the baby is not the baby, it's your God, it's your essence. But you do not recognize them, because you're not looking the right way. As long as you're looking from the reason and logic side of reality, all you see is some dirty Indians, not even humans, but as long as you are there, you're not seeing it, but you move to the simple truth and know thyself, and you see that really it's your essence, it's gods and goddesses of you, and you're moving them blindly because you're not looking. You don't even notice. Maybe. Phew. Okay, anything else here?
No, I don't think so.
Right, hold on.